the Bible scholars know that Matthew 10, verse 5 and 6 are referring to the Gentiles, or the natural Gentiles, the other nations. So what I did was, and I use this tool from time to time, which is the Bible Hub. What I'll do is I'll take a precept and I'll go to Google and I'll put in the precept, and then I'll put behind the precept a commentary. Then it'll take you to a bunch of sites with various Christian scholars, biblical scholars giving you their commentary. But I normally click on the Bible Hub commentary. So what I did was I put a bunch of other scriptures. I put Hosea 1 verse 10 or 10 and 11. I put in what else? Jeremiah 50. I put a couple of precepts in there with the word commentary behind it. And so I stumbled upon this one just to get into the mind of these so-called scholars. And on this particular page, the Bible Hub, you normally have maybe 10, maybe 15 different schools of thought when it comes to the scriptures. Anyway, one of them I like to go to is Cambridge Bible for Schools and Colleges. So as you know, these universities in America, which is based upon the whole system out of Europe, is for religious instruction, not to be a rocket scientist. But through the years, people go to college to become doctors, lawyers, engineers, business majors. But the school was always set up as a sort of a gigantic church to learn about the scriptures. That's what it was for. But to show you that Esau is not about the scriptures. You know, they have the fraternities, which is heathenistic. So this place is out of order. Hence, America's Babylon the Great, the city of confusion. Anyway, so let me get right into it. I'm not going to make this long. Anyway, so what I did was I put in Matthew 10, verse 5. It says in the Cambridge, as a matter of fact, let me do this. Matthew 10 and 5. These 12 the Lord sent forth and commanded them, saying, Go not into the way of the Gentiles, and into any city of the Samaritans enter ye not. So let's get into the commentary. And this commentary right here, they tell you the truth. Every once in a while, they'll tell you the truth. Cambridge Bible for Schools and Colleges. Go not into the way of the Gentiles. For the expression way of the Gentiles, it says Matthew 4 verse 15, the way of the sea, which they went off on that. It goes on to say, let me put this up raw. This petition is not laid on this 70, Luke 10 verse 1 to 16. They are expressly commissioned to carry tidings of the gospel to cities and places where our Lord himself proposed to visit. What I really want is here where it says, any city of the Samaritans. Now listen to this. The Samaritans were foreigners descendant from the alien population introduced by the Assyrian king, probably Sargon, 2 Kings 17 verse 24, which they're correct on that. So they're telling you the reason why the Lord said not to go to the Samaritans, because those were not the real people of Israel. Pursuant to 2 Kings 17. It said to supply the place of the exiled Israelites in Luke 17 verse 18. That says, there are not found that return to give glory to the Most High, save the strangers. That's a whole nother lesson. It goes on to say to supply the place of exiled Israelites in Luke 17 verse 18. And our Lord calls a Samaritan this stranger, like the example of St. John the 4th chapter, the woman at the well. Well, she was one of those people. She said, our father worship at this mountain, but is this the place? I'm botching it up, where men ought to worship. I'm just paraphrasing. I'm not going to go to it, but you can go to it yourself in John 4. And the Lord cursed her out and said, look, you're not an Israelite. You know not what you worship, for salvation is of Judah. He said the word Jews. So he knew that he knew the history of 2 Kings, the 17th chapter. So let's read on. It says, i.e., this man of alien or foreign race, which they were actually aliens, they were actual strangers, they were actual Gentiles, people of another nation, people that were not Israelites. That's why the Lord made that statement. When the Great Commission, you got the Christians saying, what is that, Matthew 28:19, I believe that's the verse, chapter and verse. They call the Great Commission. Well, guess what? This is the Great Commission right here. The Lord didn't change the commission. When he said go out to all the nations, he was talking about go out to Israelites, which are scattered in all these nations. And ultimately we did that, pursuant to Acts 1. It said we would teach to the uttermost part of the earth, meaning the other side of the earth, which is over here in the west. It says this stranger, i.e., this man of alien or foreign race, the bitterest hostile existed between Jews, between Jew and Samaritan. Samaritans were those people that the king of Assyria had put into the land. And that's when we went to the Americas, the northern kingdom, which has not died out to this day. The origins of this international ill feeling is related. Ezra 4 verse 2 and 3. You really start at 1. It says, then they came, and see, when Vocab tries to convince us that we're going off, he can't do it because we know the scriptures more than he does. We understand what these scriptures are really talking about. It says, then they came to Zerubbabel and to the chief of the fathers and said to them, let us build with you, for we seek your power as you do, and we do sacrifice to him since the days of Esarhaddon, king of Assur, which brought us up. So you can go back to 2 Kings 17 and 24 again. So let me read on. So it goes on to say, Zerubbabel and the heads of Israel said, you have nothing to do with this building. And now we're talking about the physical temple. Now we're dealing with the spiritual temple. The third temple is the spiritual temple, which are Israelites. See, so you got guys like Vocab and other guys trying to get involved into what they're trying to say we got to come up under them, which is insane. Ain't nobody gonna come up under you Gentiles, man. We are the Israelites, and none of these so-called Jews in the land of Israel, they're not trying to wake the world up to the whole world to the fact that they're the Israelites and we got to learn the laws. So that 1948 they didn't fulfill a damn thing. Anyway, it says Jew and Samaritan which had not died out for this day. The origins, and keep in mind, these scholars don't understand that the Israelites are already in America. The origin of this international ill feeling is related to Ezra 4 verse 2 and 3. It's really started 1. Their religion was a corrupt form of Judaism, and that's true, because them so-called Jews, their religion is a corrupt form of so-called Jew keeping the laws. Those Ethiopians that they allow in, they have a corrupt form of keeping the laws. Except for being plagued with lions, that's in Matthew, 2 Kings 17. The Samaritans summoned a priest to instruct them in the religion of the Jews. Soon, however, they lapsed from a pure worship. Yeah, because the Levitical priest that taught them the right way, and they corrupted it. And in consequence of their hatred to the Jews, purposely, introduce certain innovations. Their revival temple on Mount Gerizim was destroyed by John Hyrcanus about 29 BC. See Knut's sketch of the Samaritans, page 19. That's a whole nother lesson. Because remember, you had these nations wanting to receive the blessings of the Most High and telling their children that they were the actual people, which they're not the actual people. These Edomites over there in Israel are not the people. The Ethiopians are not the people. Let me read a little bit more. About 20 years previous to our Lord's ministry, the Samaritans, which are Gentiles. So the woman at the well was a Gentile, another nation, and had intensified the national antipathy by a gross act of profanity. During the celebration of the Passover, they stole into the temple courts when the doors were open after midnight and strewed the sacred enclosure with dead men's bones. Now I got to go into that's a whole nother topic right there. If they actually did that in the history, man, and that shows you that's why these people are going into captivity under us. Even after the siege of Jerusalem, when the relation between Jews and Samaritans were a little less hostile, the latter were still designated by the Jews as the proselytes of the lions, going back to 2 Kings, from the circumstance mentioned above. Let's read a little bit more. It says, I'm reading it verbatim, Christ charged to the apostles, this discourse falls naturally into two divisions, of which the first, Matthew 10, 5 to 15, of verses 5 to 15, has reference to the immediate present. The second relates rather to the church of the future, which are the Israelites. the subdivision of the first part are the mission field, 5 and 6, their words and works, 7 and 8, their equipment, 9 and 10, their reproach to cities and houses. So he's just going over the rest of Matthew, the 10th chapter, where it says, when you go from house to house, if they accept you, you accept them. If they don't accept you, you take your peace back. Anyway, the very beginning of this chapter, he clearly states that don't deal with the Gentiles, the other nations, and don't deal with the Samaritans, because there were a bunch of Gentiles that actually thought that they were Israelites. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say Shalom.